I know I'm late, I know it's after Halloween at this point, but most of this book takes place in Christmas Town instead of Halloween Town anyway, so we'll say that I'm not late for Christmas. When I read What If Sally Discovered Christmas Town, it was impossible for me to not be reminded of the atrocity that was Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. Long Live the Pumpkin Queen was a sequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas, which focused entirely on Sally and brushed Jack to the side. As I said in at least 2 other videos, I was hoping that Sally's Lament would have both Sally and Jack be very prominent, and in that regard I would say that Sally's Lament just barely reaches approval. Sally is in every chapter of this book, and when she first goes to Christmas Town, there's a few chapters without Jack, but then she goes back to Halloween Town and she brings Jack with her, and then the entire rest of the book has the 2 of them together. At that point, Jack becomes very active and he has a lot of interaction with Sally. Nightmare Before Christmas didn't really have that much interaction between Jack and Sally. This book seems to be trying to rectify that. Sally always looked at Jack as this larger-than-life figure who's so above her, and in this book she gets to know him and sort of gets more of a complete picture of who Jack is. It's not like one of them is constantly blundering and needing help from the other. They both need help from the other at certain points. Sometimes Sally needs help from Jack, sometimes Jack needs help from Sally. There's a part of the book where one of them is in danger, and it's clearly just there because we just had the other one in danger and getting help, so they felt the need to settle the score. So I finally have an answer to the question of whether or not this book sidelines Jack, and the answer is it does not sideline Jack after the first few chapters. So aside from that, how did I like Sally's Lament? Here's the thing, I recently gave a lukewarm review to Prince of Glass and Midnight. My number 1 complaint with Prince of Glass and Midnight was there's not enough stuff happening. That book meandered way too much, and that devastation made the book just okay-ish, despite the fact that I don't remember the writing style being particularly bad. And this book is kind of the opposite of that because there were parts of the narration that kind of made me groan. There's a few clunky lines that were not good even before they were overused. I mean, it wasn't like juvenile or anything, it's just clunky or tired. I mean, there'll be parts of the narration where you'll be not disgusted, just disappointed. And that might have been a stylistic choice because The Nightmare Before Christmas wasn't exactly known for its dialogue.
Did anyone think to dredge the lake? Oh, this morning.
Hear that? What? Shh.
0.
If you decide to read this book, just be prepared to forgive some unpolished parts. But while the way it was written needed a little bit of sprucing up in a few areas, what's actually going on in the story is a lot more fun and interesting. When Sally goes to Christmas Town, this isn't really a spoiler because it's pretty early, she finds that in Christmas Town there's a lot of pressure for everybody to be nice all the time, and there's a very harsh consequence for being naughty even once, so everyone's faking being nice. And a lot of the people are very judgmental because they expect perfection from everyone. The villain of the book is Judge Jingles, so it's not like they're expecting you to believe that Santa is doing all this. And it's interesting how the book provides the answer to the question, what kind of threats would there be in Christmas Town? They go on their journey someplace and there's a few different things in their way that are so threatening and yet fit perfectly with the Christmas theme. One thing that's kind of eyebrow-raising is you find out that there's all this messed up stuff going on in Christmas Town, and they're only finding out about it in this alternate timeline, so you kind of have to wonder, did they just never address any of these problems in the canon timeline? Or does Judge Jingles just not exist in the canon timeline? I think it's a very fun book. I hesitate to call it a funny book because I only remember laughing at one part. I don't want to spoil it, but it happens in chapter 28. You'll know it when you see it. I could maybe see someone else laughing a bit more than I did. Maybe. Something that Long Live the Pumpkin Queen handled terribly that this book handles a lot better is Jack's reaction to the way Dr. Finkelstein treats Sally. In Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, there's a part where Jack says that he never approved of the way Dr. Finkelstein treated her, but the idea of him feeling that way and always knowing doesn't add up because he never did anything about it, and he was friends with Dr. Finkelstein in the movie. In this book, the narration says specifically that Sally's not sure if Jack knows how it is. And very, very early on, there's a part when Sally is talking to Jack, and Jack offers to talk to Dr. Finkelstein for her, and she politely declines that offer because she thinks it would just make matters worse. And of course, when he does find out how Dr. Finkelstein has been treating Sally, he's furious about it. That made a lot more sense than I never approved of him even though I was always so chummy with him. So when you zoom out and take a look at the grand picture of things, it looks pretty good, but there's a lot of hiccups in the small details. For example, there's a part where someone calls Sally a monster, and she tells him, "I'm not a monster. Monsters have clubbed tails." She might have said that monsters have something else too. But later on, there's a part where Jack describes himself and others from Halloween Town as monsters, even though he and others don't have clubbed tails. So the rules are not consistent. Another thing I thought was very clunky was it opens up by telling you Sally was having a very good night, but then she always did on Halloween. And then in that same chapter, it tells you about how she's not allowed to participate in Halloween and she's cooped up unless she breaks out. And she has all these ideas of how to participate that she's never allowed to use. This book kind of reminds me of video games with good gameplay but bad graphics. It might make your eyes bleed, but you'll walk away with good memories. I think if you don't like the style of Nightmare Before Christmas, you won't like this book either. I think if you're a fan of Nightmare Before Christmas, you'll like this book a lot more than you would like Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. Long Live the Pumpkin Queen kind of tried to rewrite the mythology, and this book is more consistent with the mythology, despite the fact that this book is set in an alternate timeline. Unless you're very strict on those type of things I was complaining about earlier, I would say you'll probably like this book. Just be prepared to forgive a few undercooked sentences here and there. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and have a Merry Christmas next month.